Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Hello, Sports Card Nation. Back after a 9-day hiatus. Not really a hiatus. Episode 23 was a special NFL draft episode. My son Jordan joined the show for the first time to break down some of those college football prospects that he knows very well from being a huge fan. And we came out on Wednesday, being the draft was on Thursday, and I obviously wanted to release the show before draft day rather than either on or after. That kind of defeats the purpose. I hope you listen to the show. I enjoy every episode we do, but having my boy on, kind of fun. We've done a podcast before, not my own, but we've been on other people's podcasts, Dan Tatore's Wake Up Call, where we do a lot of sports stuff on Fridays on that show. And if you've heard the show, you know I give Dan Totore a lot of credit for kind of giving me my start and giving me the inspiration to do what I do now. Check out his show. His is a daily podcast from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's Wake Up Call with DT. Wake Up Call with Dan Totore. So give him a follow. Check out the show. Not card related, but strictly sports and local sports, and he does a great job with the show. So shout out to Dan. But here we are, episode 24, basically half a year in, at a weekly show. We're on episode 24. That's 6 months worth of shows, and we missed 1 week, so we're actually 6 months plus a week. And again, I've said this before, where we've come from episode 1 to now episode 24, it's just crazy to think about. So, again, we thank you. We went from the little show that tried to the bigger show doing, and that's a group effort, and it starts with listeners. You don't have a show if no one tunes in, and where we are now from those first couple episodes, it's just stunning. So with the little extra time I had between episodes, usually it's 7 days. In this case, it was 9. I did a little house cleaning or show cleaning, if you will. The show has a website. If you do bit.ly /Sports Card Nation, you'll get to the website. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of neglected it a little bit and let it go, and the weeds started to grow. So I headed back over there and pulled all the weeds out, cleaned it up. So now we have all these sports card releases for the whole year listed there. So if you want to see what's coming out and when, you can go there and find out. Did a lot of upgrades on the site. We've got a message board and forums. We've got a live chat feature now as well. So with all due respect to the other sports card podcasts, some that I listen to that are great, one of the goals of this podcast is to become the most interactive sports card podcast there is. That we want open doors. We want to be reachable at any time of day, potentially, in the message boards, the live chats. We're going to be doing another segment. I haven't announced it yet, but it's going to fit into that niche as well. So some things coming up. Deep Fried Breaks. Card breaks served with a side of Southern hospitality. Come hit some deep fried fire. Right now it's all about Bowman at Deep Fried Breaks, and they're hitting it hard. They like to mix it up with current products and fun classics, the best of both worlds. They have all the best release night breaks, and you won't find a more approachable breaker in the industry. He's glad to help anyone, whether it's their first break or their 1000th break. Free shipping and great selection. Deep Fried Breaks has everything you need when you're looking for that break. Check out Deep Fried Breaks at deepfriedbreaks.com. All right, it's time for What's Crackin'. All right, let's see what's rolling off the presses this week. May 3rd, 2018-19, Leaf Ultimate Hockey is released. On the 8th, 3 products. 2019, Topps Tier 1 Baseball. That one's always a fun one. They got some weird relics in there. Sometimes the pens that the players use to sign, bat knobs, and those are always fun. Same day, 2018-19, Panini Spectra Basketball. 2019, Topps UFC Knockout. On the 9th, the following day, 2018-19, SP Authentic Hockey. And on the 10th, 2019, Leaf Flash Football. So that's the releases. Another product just out, Score Football 2019 with all the new rookies. I have not opened that yet. I do plan on opening it. Score Football is always a fun, cheap rip to me. Not an expensive product. Good way to get some rookies. A lot of times I do like how the Score looks. It's kind of your base model sedan, if you will. Nothing too flashy, but like I said, for the price, it's actually not too bad, and it's kind of tradition. I always break it. Usually it's the first product out with a lot of the new rookies from the draft. It comes out pretty close to after the draft. So I'll be opening some of that. Pretty clean, white looking cards. So that'll be fun to open. On the show, you're going to hear an interview later with Blake Bollinger from Deep Fried Breaks. I want to talk a little bit about, breaks. I don't know if I want to call this the breaking episode, but, a lot of times you hear a lot about the shadier side of it. Someone, card swapping or taking the cards off camera, if you will, and switching them out, or, dropping a redemption or a card they can kind of see coming. And obviously there's really no room for that. It's illegal. It's criminal. But the few bad breakers kind of give the whole industry a black eye. My take on breaking, the one thing I will say, it seems like there's just a ton of people doing it now, and I just don't know how the market can sustain everyone doing it. Obviously you're gonna have your big your breakers that are established and have done it a while. They'll be okay, most likely. They're getting enough product allotted to them. But it's just like a boat, it can only have so many people on it. And it just seems like there's just a ton of people breaking product. I'll be honest with you, a couple years ago, I even toyed with the idea of breaking, but honestly, I don't have the time to commit to it. I'm a guy that when I do something, I'm all in 100%, and I just couldn't do it. But I think it's an important part of this hobby, no doubt. Like I said, me and Blake will be talking about this, but I even think breakers have saved kind of the hobby in a sort of way, because if it wasn't for breaks, Tops and Panini know this too, I'm sure, as well as anyone. There wouldn't be as much product moving. So I mean, Tops and Panini can thank, and really any product can thank the breaking community for really moving more product than they ever could without them. The thing I always wondered about is, whatever, and obviously for the breakers, I hope this would never happen, because this would definitely step on their toes. But if you're Tops or Panini, when you see these breakers and the markups they're making, Tops, and I don't know what goes on in their board meetings and their meetings behind closed door, but I often wonder this to myself: has it ever came up in their boardroom to do their own breaking with their products and maybe even make more money than just selling it to the secondary market? Because let's be real, if Tops and Panini employed their own breaking of the product, even if they had an employee just set up kind of a wing of the company to do that, they would probably intake more money on the same amount of boxes, cases, than they would if they just sold them outright. So I've often wondered, is that something, obviously the big two companies, Tops and Panini, I wonder if it's ever something that's ever come up to kind of do their own breaks and whatnot. And I mean, can you imagine that if Tops and Panini started doing their own breaks, even whether they called it Tops breaks or Panini's breaks, or even, I don't want to say shill the person, but had an employee kind of be in charge of that and distribute the product. Now, there's people that will tell you that sort of happens now, that certain breakers themselves get more product than probably others do on deals and backdoor deals and stuff maybe not above board. But I just wondered, in an era where it's dollars and cents, and you hear Tops is losing money or supposedly losing money, you just wonder if anything like that's ever they've ever broached that subject to maybe do that themselves and cut out the middleman, so to speak. And I'm truthfully, I hope that doesn't happen. You feel bad for the breakers if that was the case. You just wonder, how that would look, what kind of effect that would really have on the hobby. Definitely not a good effect to the breakers, who many probably make their livelihood from that segment of the industry. So it's just some of the thoughts that pop into my crazy mind sometimes when I think about cards and the industry and where it's going. I guess it's my time. It's my turn to put in my 2 cents about the Gary Vee comments. And let me first state, I'm a huge Gary Vee fan, maybe more than most. I read his books. I watch a lot of his content that he produces, from videos and really across the board. I agree with a lot of what he says, not everything, but probably a good percentage. Me and my son even debate him. My son not a big fan of his, and I am, and we debate over why I like him and he doesn't. I've kind of followed him for a couple years. I'm not trying to compare myself to Gary Vee, but similar background. While he was an immigrant himself, I come from a family. We're both from that New York City tri-state area. He also sold cards as a teenager, like myself. So I feel a little bit of a kinship with him. I agree with a lot of what he says. And sure, I've heard him numerous times come out and talk about the card industry, him getting more involved. And lately, everyone's kind of all up in arms. And, what effect will he have? He can sway the market. He can, he can tilt the table. And I think and I'm a fan of Gary Vee, like I said. We're giving this guy way too much credit. And I'm not trying to take any of his power. He is a powerful force in the business world, in the entrepreneurial field. There's no doubt about it. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't probably follow him as much. But I think at the same time, some people in the industry, I've heard other podcasts spend a lot of time on what he says. I'm not going to spend as much time because, quite frankly, folks, a lot of it's all show and glitz and just to get a rise from the card community. That's really what a lot of it is. He's talked many years about getting back into cards and doing this and doing that, and let's be real. He's doing very well with a lot of the other stuff he's doing. I don't think the card thing, percentage-wise, the time he put into cards, he would make more money probably at the same amount of time going in a different direction or doing, speaking tours or engagements. So there's no doubt he loves cards. Like I said, he got into it at a very young age, like myself, and he never really left it. But I think he sometimes maybe romanticizes getting back into it on a big level. But he's made these comments before and nothing's really come of it. Does that mean this time will just be the same? Maybe, maybe not. I could be wrong, but we really spend way too much time, going over everything he says and what does it mean and what's he doing and what's he pushing and he could sell snow to an Eskimo, and he probably can. But I think a lot of what he does is just to get a reaction, a rise, to kind of get people talking about him. That's smart. That's smart on his behalf. It works. He gets what he wants. He knows what buttons to push. But when we really boil it down and look at it, and I hear people just constantly talking about what's he doing in the cards, is he going to buy up? I think it's much to do about nothing, which I think is, again, really what he's aiming for. So we're kind of feeding in to what he wants, that he's a master marketeer, and, he's sort of a puppeteer, and some others, are the puppets on the strings, and he kind of, he moves you around the way he wants to. I'm not in that camp as much of a fan of Gary Vee as I am. I think a lot of it's a lot of showboating, a lot of hyperbole, and just to talk and get people talking. And, when you're in the forefront like that, how do you stay in the forefront? You're on people's minds. You're coming out of their mouth. And he did just that, what he said on the Rich Eisen program. So I've spent probably 4 minutes on it, probably 3.5 minutes too much, but I definitely wanted to chime in and kind of take the other side of the coin approach that, a lot of it is just talk is cheap until he actually does something. I think that's all it is just banter, just talk, just to get people thinking about what he might do and keep people on the edge of their seats. So, that's my 2 cents. And, Gary, if you're listening, first of all, like I said, I'm a big fan, but I think I'm calling you your bluff on how active you're going to get in the card industry. All right, I talked about no action with Gary Vee. Let's talk about action. Unless you're living under a rock, you've noticed the Ronald Acuna Jr. Topps Update rookies have literally in a few days time, rocketed from $5-6 to around $25 for the base card. having a decent year. He's not lighting it up, but where's the jump coming from? Obviously, supply and demand, but I think people, are looking for that next Mike Trout update type of card, and they're latching on to, Acuna being the next, and he very well may be. Does that card, if Acuna, projects and steady rises to stardom, will that 2018 update card be the latest Mike Trout 2011 update? My opinion, no. Does it have room to go up? Sure. I mean, he's only literally, in his second year. If he plays, 15, 16, even 20 years, 34 home runs a year, gets in those high 600, 700, maybe more home runs, and is the player that he's capable of being, that probably will be one of those cards that people go to look for. I mean, updates kind of, and I think it all stems from the Trout, but I think updates kind of the card everyone, when you're talking not high end, but kind of base rookie that you can buy, get graded, get a 9 or 10, and call it an investment piece on the base level. I think updates kind of become that, and I think people are looking for the next, Mike Trout update rookie, and I think everyone's kind of hoping the Acuna is. People started buying them up. Prices raised, and that's supply and demand. So, I think he's a great player. I think barring injury, he could be in that mix, but it's really early for that card to get into that realm. And even when we think about the Mike Trout update, we know it in the terms of now, but it took years to get to that level. And even now, the 2011 update for Trout, in the off season, that thing really dips down a little bit, and then when the season starts again, it's like a roller coaster. It goes back up. So, fortunately, I guess it's fortunately, I put a good amount of those update Acunas away, just kept them in my box here. So, I don't mind when they go up. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure why that significant of a jump. Seems like almost 400 or 500% very quickly. I'm sure guys were at COMC were rushing on logging in to try to raise their $5 update Acunas, either take them off or raise them up before someone else could confirm purchase on them. Same thing probably on eBay. Why? I don't know. He's around the 270, 6 homers, 24 ribbies. That's a good trajectory. I mean, that's on pace for probably 30 home runs, 90 ribbies, and the steals he gets. So definitely an excellent ball player, but I think people are just, I don't want to say fake, affecting the marketplace, but I think they are kind of manipulating the marketplace a little bit. But, I don't know if you can say that either, because something's worth what someone's willing to spend. So people are buying them. That's what the value is. I'd like to take this time to announce another new segment that we're going to roll out on the show. We're going to call it Open Mic. And what Open Mic's going to be, in an effort to make this podcast the most interactive sports card podcast on the market, we came up with this Open Mic segment. What Open Mic's going to be, folks, is you can ask us any questions. If you want to text them to us, email them to us, on the message boards, on our live chat on our website. You can email us any questions, and we'll read your question either anonymously, or if you want your name mentioned, we'll read your question on the air, and we'll answer it during the podcast. So we'll read your question and answer it on the podcast. It can obviously be hobby related, but if you want to go off topic, what's your favorite color? Who's your favorite player all time? Who do you think's a good player to invest in that no one's thinking about really right now? Sleeper picks, I'm definitely into prospecting and that sort of thing. Depending on how much feedback and how much participation we get, we'll at least pick a couple each week and air those during the podcast. The other thing I want to tell you, if you go to the Anchor FM website and find the show on the Anchor FM website, there's actually a voice message board. So you can actually leave almost like a voicemail. And if you leave a voicemail, you can actually verbally ask your question. And if you do it that way, I'll put you on the air. You'll hear yourself ask the question on the air. And then I will obviously respond and answer it in real time after hearing it. You ask it. So if you want to just either type it to us, you can go on any of our social medias, direct message us, live chat on the website, on our message board on the website, or if you actually want to hear yourself on the show, go to Anchor FM site and find our show on there, and there's a part there where you can actually leave a voice message. Leave us a voice message asking your question, and I'll put you on the air, so to speak. So here's your chance to be on the show, be interactive. We hope to hear from you in some capacity either way. Thank you for listening. The Sports Card Nation podcast website has been revamped. It's more interactive with a live chat feature. Also has forums and message boards. And now the front page has upcoming podcast news and events, and also a yearly release trading card calendar. So you know what's coming out when, so you can target your next purchase. And we've made it very easy to get to. Just type in bit.ly/SportsCardNationPC. That's bit.ly/SportsCardNationPC. Well, we're doing another giveaway here on the Sports Card Nation podcast. This time it's going to be a 2015 Bowman Best, Kris Bryant, number 50, graded by Beckett, 9.5, gold label. It's a rookie card. Probably value between $25 and $40, I say. If to enter to get this card absolutely free, you can enter various ways, and we're going to do something a little different today. So we've done these before, and if you give us the code name that I'm going to give you via any kind of private message or our Instagram or email, that will be one entry. But we're going to change it up since we revamped our website. If you go to our website at bit.ly/SportsCardNationPC, if you go to the podcast website and go to our forums and message boards, if you go to the contest giveaway message board, which is brand new, and type in the code there, we'll give you 2 entries. Or if you use the live chat feature on our website, which will be on either page of the website in the lower right corner, it'll look like a red chat box. If you click on that and type in the code word I'm about to give you, I'll give you 2 entries on the randomizer, okay? So if you enter through our new revamped website, bit.ly/SportsCardNationPC. If you enter through the website, I'll give you 2 entries. If you enter any other way, we'll open it up. We won't short you there. If you enter any other way, we'll give you 1 entry. So you can have up to 2 entries. Don't use both. You're not going to get 3. But if you go via the website method, I'll give you 2 entries. If you go via the old-fashioned way or any of our social medias or email, I'll give you 1. So double your chances to win. And here's the code word. It's Bear, B-E-A-R, Bear. So enter that Bear either via the chat on the website or the message board. 2 entries. Any other way you get us that code word, it's 1 entry, and we're going to give away the gold label Bowman's Best Kris Bryant Rookie 9.5 Beckett. Good luck. Hope to hear from you. We love our listeners. We know without you, there's no us. We care about your feedback and opinions and invite you to reach out to us at any of our social media accounts. You can reach us on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast. That's at Sports Card Nation Podcast. Or on Twitter at Sports Card Natty 1. That's Sports Card NATI 1. Or email us at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. That's sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We try not to ask for much, but if you are enjoying the show, we ask that you give us a shout out, tell your friends, spread the word, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter, and we love positive reviews. So we'd appreciate if you took a minute and gave us a positive review on any platform you're listening to the show on. Thank you. All right, joining me now on the Sports Card Nation podcast guest line, he's a breaker. His name is Blake Bollinger. He's also Deep Fried Breaks. They sponsor the show. They do it the right way, which is nice in that niche marketing. I told him I'd have him on, so I'm glad he made some time for us. So without any further ado, Blake, welcome to the program.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, you're welcome. I appreciate you being on. So it's the standard industry question. You know, how'd you get into cards in the first place? That's kind of where it all starts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I probably had, the standard, teenage or, young child growing up, getting baseball cards at the store, using the allowance money, all that kind of stuff. Grew up collecting, kind of, I don't really know when, but, kind of started to get out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably teenage years.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then probably 4 or 5 years ago, my mom called, said, hey, we're moving, and, we're starting to pack up all the boxes and stuff, and it's going through your room. I found all these old baseball cards. You just want me to throw them away? And I was like, no, don't do that. It's, oh my God, super valuable stuff. So many great rookie cards, blah, blah, blah. Don't throw those away. So, I go home and get the box and kind of start going through it. And I was like, oh my God, I must be sitting on a gold mine, typical Barry Bonds rookies and Griffey rookies. And then you start looking and you're like, oh, $4 here, $10 there.
Yeah.
But that kind of, spurred me, and I was just curious. I was like, is this even a market anymore? Do people still collect baseball cards? I think that was probably 2015, so it wasn't anywhere near where it is now.
Yeah.
Actually, I think the next night, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, we went to eat dinner with her parents, and they were in town, and they actually had a card store, and I was like, I'm just curious. I'm going to go in and see what's going on here. So, went in and just bought a couple packs to rip, and it's basically been nonstop since then. You go in, you open those first couple packs, and you're like, oh my God, I forgot the rush.
Yep.
And you see what they've done with all the parallels and variations and all that.
It's crazy, but I'm venturing to guess I'm older than you at 46. I've never hid my age on the show. People probably tired of hearing me say, "We know you're 46. Quit telling." But from when I started, I mean, my first pack was in 1979 with a 1979 baseball pack, tops, and just where the industry has went, I remember when they first put jersey cards in products, and I thought that was like insane, to now, that went from like people were so enamored with that to now it's just so old hat. And if it's a plain swatch, people are like kind of bored of it, They even use the term, which I hate when they call it napkins, It's just one of my own, little things, but I get it. I'm not that upset about it. But It's just crazy, and then the next thing comes down the line, and it's really crazy too how fast the innovation does come, and
it is, yeah.
It's and then we can get into pricing. I mean, when I was a kid, packs were 25 cents, 40 cents, and now, and that's been a big thing. What I've mentioned on the show is, I think it's really tough for, I'm thinking when I was 12, 13, 14, it wasn't a huge deal to buy a pack or even a box here and there. But now for those kids that age in today's day and age, with what the stuff, goes for now, with all that innovation we talk about, that price also goes up as well. And it's really tough. And that's a big fear, because those kids are the next ones to take that baton and either run with it or don't. And that's always been a fear of mine, is that, I'm hoping there's enough of those to carry it forward. I'm sure there will be. I'm starting to sound a little bit like the old man on the porch, but it's definitely more difficult in today's day and age than it used to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm 29, so I think I had it to where I could, like, once a month, I think I got $10 a month or $10 a week allowance. And, for my main collecting days, and like, I think once a month I could save up enough to buy like a box at Kmart, the local Kmart. And, you weren't guaranteed anything. It was just a box of stuff. It was always such a thrill if you hit a Griffey or anything. That was my favorite guy growing up, and it's still one of my main collections. But, it's like you said, I mean, now you can't really hardly get anything for that. And it's fun you mentioned the kind of the child or the children growing up. Like a guy I work with, he's 72, 73, and his big baseball guy. Me and him talk about baseball all day, every day at work. And his grandson, he tried to get him into it a couple of years ago when I kind of started getting into it, and then he. A couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, his grandson called him at work, and he's like, "Hey, I want to start collecting baseball cards." And he's like, "Well, perfect. I got you the guy right here." And then it's just kind of going through with him. It's like, oh my God, I remember when my kids were young, and he's like, I could buy them all the stuff they wanted for like next to nothing. And he's like, and now he's like, I can buy some stuff from you. And he's like, I know you're not ripping me off at all, but it's crazy, and
it's where the market's at.
It is, and I think that not to try to push the product or anything, but breaks it helps. It does definitely help. But even some of the stuff, like for instance with Bowman right now, that's the hot thing. And pick your team raise. Most of the pick your team raise spots are going for $400 or more, and it's just like I don't know. I could never do it personally. I mean, I guess maybe I get to a point where I'm collecting and flipping enough, but it's just
it's crazy. I mean, and obviously, I'll be the bad guy here. Obviously that's driven by Wander Franco,
right?
And I'm a prospect guy. I follow the minor leagues. That's something I do. I bring that to the show sometimes, and this kid is 18 years old. And,
right.
You don't root against anyone. I hope he becomes the next Mike Trout. But some of the prices that he's bringing Mike Trout levels, and this guy hasn't even done it on that level yet. And that's the head scratcher to me. And I don't want to go off on a huge tangent, but he lit it up at rookie level last year, 350, 11 home runs. That kind of put him on the map, and people notice as they should. But I'm a firm believer that the level that I kind of start thinking about a guy potentially bringing it to the major league level is when they do it at Double A.
I agree.
And if you look at what Wander's doing, and it's early yet, he's young, but at last check, he had like 80 at bats, no home runs. He was batting like 250. So a little bit different than how last year went for him. So I think sometimes...
I will say this. He's had a good couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of coincidental with Bowman coming out. He's been on.
Yeah.
He's hit over 400 the past couple
Yep.
weeks. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
And I don't think you hit 350 at rookie level with 11 home runs by accident. That's talent. He didn't get drafted and that bonus contract for being just good. He's, you know what I mean? But you know, Blake, it's when you see what the prices some of these cards are bringing for really unproven at that level yet, and it's all speculation. I get it. I'm not naive, but to me it's crazy. Like, for what people are paying for Wander Franco, I'd rather buy someone that's already done that, or even somebody, a Hall of Famers that are retired, that to me are undervalued. You know,
I agree. Like,
and
personally, I was gonna say I hit one the other day. I was opening just a personal box of hobby and hit a gold shimmer Wander Franco auto to 50. And
yeah,
that's just
it's crazy.
On eBay and like about had a heart attack, so
yeah.
I'm going for like $4,000. So I'm getting it graded right now, but as soon as
yeah.
I get it back, that thing, because like I said, I'm a big Trout guy. A lot of the current guys.
Yeah.
I'd a lot rather have a nice $5,000-$6,000 Mike Trout car.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's nothing against.
With this kid.
Yeah, it's nothing against Wander. I hope he's the best he can potentially be. And I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. I opened some Bowman. I kind of really beat me up. I did not do good this year. But obviously, when I'm opening it, that's kind of what you want to hit. I mean, that's the let's truth be told, because of the prices that stuff is honestly bringing. So, and again, he's 18. First 60, 70 at bats doesn't make a career. But I'm a guy, as someone who follows the minor leagues and prospects, and I look at it, once they do continue that at the AA level, that's where you're getting all your heavy first round pitchers and better pitching, and they're doing it against those guys. That's when my ears tend to perk up even a little bit more and say, okay, because I've seen a lot of guys tear up rookie single A, and then when they get into a little bit of the upper leagues, that they're not the same player. And when you're talking about money and investing, you really have to look at some of that stuff, and it's hard. It's such an injury. A kid could be a great player and, get a base hit, run to first, and tear his ACL, and never be the same. And that's why it's kind of crazy to invest what some of these cards are bringing on eBay, and it's amazing, truthfully.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm here in Birmingham, so we got the Barons,
the
White Sox AA team, and
now were you there when Jordan? Were you too young?
I was young.
Yeah.
My dad did bring me, so I can say I have seen Michael Jordan play minor league baseball. I would be lying if I said I remembered it vividly, but I think I was. Let's see. So he left 94, 95, I think, somewhere in there. So I would have been 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And that was just one of those. My dad told me, he was like,
yeah,
he's not a huge basketball guy. He's really not a huge baseball guy. He's just a big football guy. But he told me, or he always tells me, well, I knew that I had to take you, even if you didn't remember, just so you can tell people that you saw Michael Jordan play minor league baseball. So,
yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I think you're right. AA is really, like, I can watch some of these, like Kopech, for instance, with the White Sox.
Yep.
I saw him the last year or so, and I can tell you, if he stays healthy, I think that dude's going to be a really good major league baseball player.
Yep, he's got the stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, you can watch some of these guys, like, you hear some of them, and you go watch them, like, I mean, I know it's only one game, or, we go to a lot just because it's 10 minutes from our house.
Yeah.
My wife, and we have work tickets, and a lot of times clients don't use them, so I'll just say, hey,
I'll take them.
Wednesday night, I'm going to go to the game. And, I mean, it's fun. And it is, I mean, it's a little bit like playing the lottery, but I'm with you. I would rather invest in a guy who I know, like Mike Trout, is probably going to be a Hall of Famer if he stays healthy. Then,
you even mentioned another guy in Griffey Jr. Obviously, he's retired. He's a Hall of Famer. But when you look at his stuff, to me, he's still undervalued. I know.
Mind blowing to me. Yeah.
I know it was during the junk wax era, and a lot of that stuff's overproduced. But even some of the current, even the more of the modern day stuff, where they went back and made his stuff and patch autos and that stuff, it's still to me undervalued for his body of work. And a patch auto of his is you can get one for as low as probably 125, even $100. If someone's just trying to sell something quick, and it's crazy to think that, and then an 18-year-old who might be as advertised, but right now, like you said, that's the perfect term. It's kind of like buying a lottery ticket. You're hopeful, but you don't really know how it's going to turn out. And his stuff is just way past that, and it's
it's a hell of an expensive lottery ticket.
Yeah, and Griffey Jr. is one of the best players ever to play the game, and yet his stuff is still fairly affordable. In a way, it's a good thing for those who collect them or want to acquire something like that. But when you compare it to what some of these guys who haven't done anything on that level yet, it's head scratching. Is really what it becomes.
I agree. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the prospects and lottery ticket. And I think me and you are probably in the same boat here. We're collectors first, but you still you want to see some of this stuff you collect. You want to be able to. Me personally, I want to be able to hand it off to my grandkids one day and say, here's something really cool that might be worth a lot of money. I mean, I think we'd all be liars if we said, I don't care about, return on investment on cards, but it's like with Bowman, and I love opening it, and it's a great product to rip and everything, but it's like if you go back and look at it, some of the 16 chrome, I think, is where Blythe Jr.'s in.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's a big hit, but it wasn't, obviously nowhere near what I don't think it was going for what Franco's are going for, and I think Soto's in that one, and Acuna stuff is not super high, when it first comes out. So it's
I think what tends to happen too, Blake, and I think you'll agree, is people kind of latch onto a guy. Every product has to have kind of a face of that product. For basketball this year, it really became Luka Doncic. You know what I mean? But, not to go off on the base, but there's a lot of other guys, Trey Youngs, Marvin Bagley Jr.'s, that are even as of late have actually outplayed them as rookies. I think each product, and coming back here, bringing it back to baseball with Bowman, I think every Bowman release, one guy kind of becomes like the driving force. Now, there's other great prospects in it. Your Nolan Gormans, your Jared Kelenics. I'm leaving plenty of guys out. We only have so much time, but there's other great. That's why Bowman's so great, is because it's they call it home of the rookie for a reason. But there's always that one guy that just gets red hot in the hobby, and that's, where everyone's kind of attention goes to. And in a way, it's kind of good, because if you're into one of the other guys, like I mentioned, it's a great opportunity while everyone's focused on Wander at this moment. You're able to get maybe a deal on some of that other stuff. So there's a it's always a two-sided coin. While one side may not be fond of, there's some benefits to what actually is going on the other side of that coin. And I think, as a collector or a hobbyist, that's where you have to, be strategic with it. And like you said, and like I said, you open it. If you said you didn't want to hit the Wander, being it was the hot commodity, you're not being truthful. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you said it too. When you're putting money into a product, you want it long term. Like you say, you use a great term with ROI, return on investment. You want that. Anyone that says otherwise is just not telling the truth. So, I don't think anyone should have to feel guilty for that. I think there's a lot of people in the hobby, and I think you'll agree that really that's their sole purpose. And I think when it gets to that's where it gets a little bit, I'm trying to find the word. I don't want to say shady, because it's not shady, but a little dicey. That's not my, I enjoy it. When it just becomes dollar signs and dollar signs only, that's when that's probably my cue, like, you're probably done, John, Again, it's a big aspect. No one can deny that, and to say otherwise is not being truthful. But when it becomes like the sole purpose, I think that's where to me, that wouldn't even be enjoyable anymore. That would be like kind of almost a job,
Yeah, and I agree. And I don't know how, like, you know, I see all these guys that act like that, you know, they're just flipping, buying and selling and everything. To me, yeah, it's like you said, it turns into a job. And these are probably the guys who are buying these, you know, like Blowout did the crazy, like, 20 case break or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all saw the Wander Franco spot sold for, like, close to $8,000. Like, something tells me that's not a Ray super collector who's buying that spot. You know, that's a guy trying to flip that spot, and that's just, like, I can't imagine how nervous I would be and just how, if
you don't hit something.
Like the most let down you could possibly be. Like, I feel that.
That's like eight mortgage payments for some.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Like, I mean, my guy, Trout's probably my biggest, you know, collection right now, and so I've definitely splurged and bought the Angels and some, you know, $100 and $150 spots, and it's just like every time I do it, it's just like, you know, and luckily I'm fortunate enough to where if I lose $150, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, you know,
and it's still just like not a good feeling.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know how I compare that, and it's you know, I used to do this more when I was younger than I do now. But, you know, you go to a casino. We have a casino here in central New York that's about 30 minutes from me. And, you know, I didn't go a ton, maybe a couple times a year. But, you know, Blake, I always went in there just with, like, not that you want to lose, but, hey, I got $125. That's what I'm playing with tonight. And if I lose it, that's it. And I'm not going to the ATM and taking more out. And obviously, if I win, you know, that's a good thing. And then, you know, I always use the thing where if I was a couple $100 up, I'd put $100 in the other pocket and forget about it. That way I knew, worst case, you know what I mean? And if you're there 4 or 5 hours and you break even, it's entertainment that really didn't cost you anything. You know, and if you obviously come out ahead, that's even better. I think if you come at it kind of with that approach, and you know, and I think like buying a spot with the Angels, 125, you know, that's kind of, you know, I got a chance to really hit here potentially, and maybe not. But if I don't, it's not, like, you know, the end of the world. I'm not going to be not paying my house payment, you know, my mortgage payment and that sort of thing. So. I think if you go in it with those terms and you know, live with, you know, participate in the hobby within your means, you know, that's really kind of you know, that part's fun about it. That's what it's about. So
yeah, I agree.
And you know, we talked about, you know, the kids, and they're kind of priced out. This is where the one thing I love about the breaking market, the breaking industry, is I think it's really allowed probably some kids to still, you know, buy into an expensive product without paying, you know, $500, $600, $700, or some, you know, as well as I do. Some of these boxes are 4 figures. It allows them at you know, between 30 and 60, $75 to get a spot and potentially hit something that they never could acquire under normal circumstances. And that's the one aspect of breaking that I think, you know, I'll go on and say it, and you can tell me as someone who does it on the regular what you feel about this. I think in a way it's kind of saved the wax market, you know, with Topps and Panini. I think without the breakers, they're not going to be selling as much product. I'm not saying they wouldn't sell any, but I mean, they definitely wouldn't sell nowhere near as much as they do now with that, you know, going on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's something that I've kind of, you know, we talk about sometimes during some of my breaks is, you know, I would love to see the breakdown, and it's just there's no way to get it, honestly. But I would love to see the breakdown on, like, what percentage of products are being opened, like, personally or for breaks.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say, you know, with the way it is now, that people, I think breakers, you know, boxes being broken for other people have surpassed, you know, people opening personal boxes. And
yep. Yeah,
it's probably 60-40, and that's kind of just
it's fun.
Ballpark.
It's funny you said that, Blake. I was going to probably say I think it's over that 50% mark. Product is getting open from breaks or personal rips compared to just someone, you know, buying a box or two or even a case from Steel City for themselves. I think you hit it on the head. I would have said the exact same percentage. I think it's 60-40. I think there's even a chance it may be even higher than that 60%.
Yep, I think it definitely is.
You know, and it's funny where times have went. You know, it's funny even seeing personals, which I get, and I've done them. I've even done them myself for others. Like when I was younger and opening wax, I didn't, you know, I'd have a box and my friend would be like, "Can I open a couple packs?" I wouldn't even want them opening my pack. No, get your own, you know, get your own. I would never like want to pay somebody else and just watch, you know, again, social media wasn't around then yet either too, so it's easy to say that, but I wouldn't want someone to open my stuff and then say, "Hey, here's what you got." Well, you know, I didn't even like someone, just a friend of mine asking just to open the pack, even though I was still going to get the cards. He just wanted to help me open them, and you go from that era to now. You know, a lot of what people acquire, they didn't even rip the product themselves. They bought into a break and then it was shipped to them, which is, I think it's great. It's like I said, I think it's kind of saved the wax industry. You know, I don't know sometimes if Topps or Panini sort of acknowledges that maybe as much as you guys would want them to, but I'm sure they know that. There's no doubt they know that. And you know, and it's just, again, it's things change so fast, you know, and even with, you know, going back to Bowman, it's just, I think I love Bowman. Even though 2019 edition wasn't very nice to me, I still love it. It's one of my favorite products to open every year. And it, like you said, it's crazy what some of these cards bring. But you know, the one thing that makes me I don't want to say nervous, but it's just I don't know about 2019, but it just seems like there's a lot more this year being open. I don't know the numbers, I don't know the production numbers, but I get a gut feeling that there's like a lot more 2019 Bowman than past years. You know, it's that you know everyone talks about another crash. I don't believe that's even close to being a reality. I've talked about on the show, if anything, not a crash, but I'll call it kind of a market correction. Things will just kind of slowly kind of fall into the place where they should fall rather than a crash. And, you know, when I see that much Bowman, I just wonder, like, you know, there's some of these individual cards, I just can't see them sustaining. And we both know when something's brand new, that's really when it's going to be burning the hottest. You know what I mean? That just, you do this long enough, you know that. It goes without saying. But even long term, it's just, I'm just seeing massive cases being open, and just one breaker opening 20 cases or what have you, you know, and it's just
like I think like a blowout probably got 100 cases, and I've seen a lot of people, and I'm with you. I don't know how you're getting that much, and I don't know.
And you know, it's a supply and demand industry, and obviously the demand is there. People really love Bowman, and there ain't no boxes collecting dust, no doubt about it. You know, that's not what I mean, but it's just, I think the amounts being produced is just, I don't want to say I worry, but you know, if you're like me and you're going to look kind of long term down that tunnel, it just makes you wonder where this winds up and how it goes. So, but that just the same, the demand is there, and like I said, breaking has filled that niche that I think's needed in the hobby. I think it's kept kids involved where before I think they would not be involved anymore. So. Yep.
I think that. I mean, obviously, there's been some kind of market correction because you don't see the LCSs on the street corner. Not that was, there are a lot less. It is hard for them to compete against some of these people who are getting, when you're getting 1,000 cases, it's a lot easier to sell it a lot less than if you're getting one.
Yeah, I guess it's easy for me to sit here. I guess I'd like to see maybe these companies kind of try to distribute it maybe more evenly. I know money talks, and at the end of the day, that's where their bottom line is. But just a little more fairness. I think you would probably agree. I think you kind of said that already yourself.
Yep, 100%.
So I got obviously you're one of the good guys in this industry. Not everyone's, unfortunately, like Deep Fried Breaks and does things the right way. You know, I'm not going to go on an individual. We've all heard what some breakers have resorted to, and it kind of, unfortunately, it kind of gives a black eye to the niche as a whole, which I don't think is really fair, because I think, 98% of people tend to do it the right way. So as someone who does it the right way, like, how do you know what I mean? How do you kind of get by that, or how do you deal with that when someone who doesn't kind of, puts a cloud over breaking in general?
Yeah, I mean, it is sickening, and I think that's what most would say. But I mean, it really is, like, to me, and I've told people this in my breaks, like, there's, when you're opening a personal box, there's, like, you hit something big, it's just awesome and everything, but, like, it's almost, to me, as big of a rush, and my wife can attest to this. Like, I get giddy every night, or every time I have a break night.
Yeah.
And it's like, when I hit something big for one of my customers, especially if it's a guy who buys in a lot, and that kind of thing, like, it's almost as exciting as if I would have hit it myself. And like, you just see some of these guys, and they're swapping out cards and stuff, and I always tell everybody, like, I'm not smart enough to pull this off, so you don't have to worry about that. I remember one of the first breaks I did, I think it was probably the first full case. It was New Year's Eve. It was a Bowman's Best case. And it was like, terrible storms here in Birmingham and everything. And I told everybody beforehand, but, I don't know, hopefully it will be all right. But the power was out for like 4 hours this morning. Well, sure enough, the power cuts off like middle of the break.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, God, this is like mid-box, too. I was like, this is not a good look. I was like, and like I said, this was one of the first times I'd done it. So I was like, there's no coming back from this. If I come out and just pull, like, I don't even remember who, like Cole Wynn, I think, was one of the guys that seemed to pop up in every case. It was, like a $3 auto. I was like, I'm going to pull, the next 12 cards are going to be all Cole Wynn autos. But luckily for me, I ended up pulling a Urias for the Padres Superfractor auto, so that did help a little bit with that. But it's just, there's so many factors, and luckily it's like every time there's weather, and I've built up enough of a trust in my community to where I always kind of preface, hey guys, there's storms in the area or something like that, and it's just it really is awesome for me to see that I've got guys that every time I say something like that, they'll step up in the chat and say, we know you're good. Don't worry about it. That kind of thing.
Well, you built up your reputation. It speaks for itself. And in a way, as crazy as it sounds, that power outage actually helped your cause with pulling that card and saying, hey, guess what? You could have put that in your stack and no one would have never known. So to do that, kind of was a proving point. Listen, I don't play those games. This is who I am. This is what we're bringing to the table. And it really set the tone, for how you operate and run your business. And you built on it even more so from there as you do more of the break-in. So I think that's, you don't want the power to go out, but in a way it was sort of like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I agree. And see a lot of these guys, I guess they're new because I don't know, like, or I don't know, what point do you reach the breaking point to where, tonight's the night, I'm ending it all, because there's no coming back from it. Like, if you get caught card swapping or something like that, like, there's just no coming back from it. And to me personally, I don't have, like, very many friends that share the hobby with me. I tell a lot of my friends, I'll start talking to them about baseball cards, and they'll start rolling their eyes like this again. What are you, 12? And, that kind of thing. And so to me, it really has been, like, I'm not saying that I've, become best friends with any of these guys, but, a lot of them, we, chat, every time they hit a big hit, they share it with me. And so that, like, it's a networking thing.
Yeah, it's a community. I think it makes the world kind of a smaller place. I think social media has done that as well, and it's crazy where it's come, and social media is a big part of that, and there's good sides to that, there's bad sides to that, but like you said, and I'm in the same boat. I do have a lot of friends that know that I do cards and they do the show, and they don't understand it,
Right.
But the other side that the feedback I get in the community, and that's really what you do it for, and as long as your friends are supportive and you don't get picked on or too much. And it's funny, it never fails. God forbid that someone passes away and they know I'm in cards and hey, we found this. What's this worth? Or can you look at it? So you always you get that known for that, and something like that occurs, you can help them out, maybe even purchase something if need be. So,
and I'm sure you get it just as often as I do. I've got a Barry Bonds rookie card at home. How much is that thing worth? $3.
And you hate that because you're kind of the bearer of bad news. And
it's like you want to try to bring new people in the hobby. It's like, sorry.
I believe me. It's funny because I have my Newman Sports Cards end of my business, and I'm not exaggerating. I get about 6 calls or texts a day. Are you buying? And a lot of times they'll say, listen, they'll want to meet. And I'm like, it's not that I don't want to meet up with you and look at you, but do me a favor. Text some pictures of what you think some of the better stuff is, and we can go from there and gauge it from there. And then I get those texted pictures, and it's, 92 Fleer, and all the I don't have to go on, but it's that junk wax era, and like you said, now you have to be kind of the bearer of bad news,
Yep.
And I'm like, unfortunately, that stuff never lived up to what it was kind of billed as. It was overproduced, and then usually the next text, I guess, so you don't want to meet up.
Yep.
And again, it's nothing personal. It's just I have too much of this myself, so I'm gonna respectfully decline. And you try to be as soften the blow as much as you can, and whatnot. So some people understand, and other people are like the other big thing I'm running into too, Blake, is people look on, there's, I got an 89, it's an 89 Fleer Griffey, and I just looked at eBay, and it's $150. And, you have to tell them that's probably you're looking at a PSA 10. You have a raw card, it comes out of the pack.
Yeah,
now you might have a PSA, you might have a PSA 10, but you have to submit it for grading to get to that point. So and not against them, they're not going to know that. It's not their fault, But again, now you got to really, again, you're the bearer of bad news, and but by the end of the call or the text, they're like, I hate this guy, when you didn't really do anything wrong, but you're kind of like the messenger of death, so to speak. So
like today I had a guy, I'm in a group message with some Auburn guys, and Casey Mize, the Tigers won overall pick last year, he went to Auburn, so I was sent him a message the other day. He's like, hey, he just threw a no-hitter in his first start, Double-A. So I had a blue chrome auto from this year's Bowman. I ended up selling it for pretty good amount last night, and I was just like, I was like, here it is. It's like, y'all give me crap all the time. I was like, this card just doubled overnight.
Yeah, and that's really what it's. Some of it, a lot of with the hobby is timing. It really, it is. I mean, right now, I'll use another guy for example. Cody Bellinger had a great rookie year. His stuff was red hot. He had kind of a quieter sophomore season. And if you looked at the numbers at the end of the year, they weren't terrible. It's not like he went in the tank. But everyone got such a hype with him with Judge in the American League and him in the National League. But his second year kind of fell short of that, and people kind of got off that boat. And now here he is in 2019. He's batting over 400, close to 50 ribbies, double-digit home runs, tearing. And everyone's back on again. You know what I mean? So, literally, a Chrome rookie went from $5 on Monday to $25 on Tuesday overnight. I'm sure everybody was going on COMC and changing all their prices before they got to sell them. I always I have that vision in my mind when those instances happen of guys scrambling to their laptops and getting on there and upping the prices before it's too late, before people jump on them and put them in their cart.
Yep, I agree.
It's crazy. So again, I thank you for coming on the show. We're gonna have you on again. I thought the conversation was insightful. I enjoyed it. They always say you. Yep, thank you. They always say you enjoy the interview when you don't realize how long it's went for. And I don't put time limits on any of my interviews. That's a big thing with me. If someone's willing to give their time, I don't say, well, we're out of time. But, we are coming down the home stretch. One thing I want to do, Blake, is give you the floor here. Deep Fried Breaks is a sponsor. But even if it doesn't matter what, you're giving your time. So give out your website, your Instagram, anything you want to promote, any breaks you got coming up that you want to kind of highlight to those listening out there. Now, your floor is yours.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, like you said, Deep Fried Breaks, deepfriedbreaks.com is my website. I've got, still trying to, we were talking about the Bowman earlier. That's kind of, some of my comments were out of envy because some of these guys are getting hundreds of cases.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm not getting hardly any, but, I've got one more jumbo case going tomorrow or Thursday night. So, going to do, pick your team, still some teams left there, and then hopefully we'll have another one. We got some Tier 1 coming out next week, so we'll do some stuff with that. That's fun. We were kind of talking about the jersey relics and all that earlier, and now they're starting to put bat knobs and the pins they use to sign the cards in there, so those are always fun. And for tuning in to the podcast, if anybody's listening out there that wants to jump in, just 15% off. Just go use a checkout code SCN15.
All right.
5, and that'll help a little bit. And always trying to offer first-time breakers with me some credit and that kind of thing. So just trying to grow the community a little bit. It's like I was saying earlier. It's not we don't have 1,000 guys that hop in chat, but we usually got a pretty good group of guys, and I feel like I see some that have all started breaking with me, and it's fun to see them interact on Twitter when that they didn't know each other before. They started breaking with me, but they just hung out a lot in chat and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, it makes the world it sounds kind of corny and cliche, but it makes the world a smaller place. I come from an era being the old guy. Back then there was no social media, so you traded with your friends, and I even tell the joke that when I first got into cards at 7, 8, 9 years old in the late 70s, early 80s. Most of my friends wanted the gum, and I was one of the few I wanted the cards. So I would just, here, you can have my gum, and give me give me as many cards as you don't want. And that's how I acquired, a lot of my extra cards.
That was in the intro. I love it.
Yeah, so, and it's true, Sometimes it's scary when I think about it, and I really man, I am old, so... But, and I'll run that, thank you for the promo code. That's a great opportunity for those that haven't got into any of your breaks. There's your door opening, and you save a little money too. And I'll run that too on our social medias, as well for you. I'd love to have you on again. I think you bring a great perspective, to it. We probably could have went a whole nother hour if we wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you from someone else who's, in the hobby. This is great. I didn't know much about you until you reached out, and I started listening to some of the podcasts, and I think this is an awesome forum as well. So thank you for doing what you do. Oh, no,
you don't have to thank me. I appreciate it. It's just, it's what I said on the show, Blake. When I started the show, there's we all know there's good things that happen in the hobby, there's bad things. I'm not going to act like the bad things don't happen, but I think we need to accentuate some of the more positive things more than we sometimes do. It's sort of like, it's like a train wreck or a car wreck. Everyone slows down and wants to look. I get it, but I think we need to highlight a lot of the people doing good things and stuff in the hobby.
I agree. So, so keep doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you, and you too. You as well. It's time for From the Box Seat. Let's head to the world of sports. Ichiro's retirement. didn't last long. He's returning to the Mariners to get into the either as a consultant or a coach, front office aspect. So, I think he loves the game. I think you could always tell if you watched him play, and he's got a love for the game and played it well into his 40s. I don't think he wants to be away from the game. So while he may not be on the field anymore, he's decided to come back and work for the Mariners. Staying on baseball, if you've seen the recent Mets-Phillies antics, Jacob Brame, couple balls over the head or at the head or whatever you want to call it, inside to Rhys Hoskins. He didn't take too kindly to it. Following day, hit a home run off of him and took 34 seconds rounding the bases. I'm a little biased here being a Mets fan. I wasn't real happy about that watching it. Then it trickled down to AAA, where the Mets AAA team, our own Syracuse Mets and the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, were playing a series, and Jacob Brame was actually sent down and in that series. And while warming up in the bullpen, I guess they have a jumbotron near there or behind it, and they played the Hoskins home run with the 34 second run around the bases video, and the Syracuse Mets didn't take too kindly to it. The manager, Tony DeFrancesco, gave the GM of the Lehigh Valley the riot act. He claimed he didn't have anything to do with it, didn't know it was going to happen. Well, it inspired the Syracuse Mets. They came back and won that game, rallied in the late innings to win, and they were so fired up, they won the following game 18-5. So maybe a little catalyst for both teams, the AAA and the big league club. But it seems like lately, especially this year, a little more, stuff outside the norm as far as showboating and, gamesmanship going on. And, I'm kind of old school. I've said this before. I used to pitch and, high school and other leagues. And, I wasn't afraid to throw inside if someone didn't play the right way or came up, cleats up. I kind of remembered the numbers. But all these other antics, Tim Anderson and, the stare downs and the bat flips, and I'm kind of act like you've been there. I'm kind of like the football, score a touchdown, flip the ball like Jerry Rice to the referee and act like you've been there before. And I think it's baseball's getting a little bit like WWE-ish, a little bit of a kind of a show, too much. I like entertainment, but I think it's getting a little too like shticky and a show. I just want to see some good baseball being played. So who's the hottest rookie in the American League? Eloy Jimenez? Vlad Guerrero Jr.? Nope. You might be surprised unless you really follow the sport. Goes by the name of Brandon Lowe. He plays for the Tampa Bay Rays, and he's also on my fantasy team. Got to say, I did some due diligence scouting him out before the draft. But he's playing well, about 290, 6 home runs, 20-something ribbies, hitting pretty clutch, playing some pretty clutch baseball. Just got, before the season started, pretty hefty contract. So obviously the Rays saw something where they wanted to lock him up. He's got a few steals as well. So, it's funny when we talk about hype and sometimes it's those other guys we forget about. Again, it's early yet. Eloy's actually not playing too badly. Vladdy just started his Major League Baseball career. Going to be some bumps in the road for him, but overall, I think he should once he gets a grip of the game and it slows down a little bit for him, he'll be all right as well. So, but sometimes we always focus on those big name prospects and big name rookies and future superstars, and we forget about some of these other guys. So Brandon Lowe says, don't forget about me. Heading to the football draft. Hopefully you heard our draft preview. I had a good time doing that with my son Jordan. If you missed it, you can go back to the archives and check it out. But post-draft news, Murray was the number one pick. Whether I agree with that call or not, one thing I can definitely say is I think, the Cardinals really misplayed their hand. If you're going to go with Murray, you probably should have dealt Rosen sooner than they did. It got a little dicey. And today I'm even reading that, if you're going to pick Murray, number one, let's be real, he's got to be your franchise guy at the number one overall pick. And today I'm reading Cliff Kingsbury saying he's not won the job. He's got to go in and win the job. And then I hear the GM or the owner, Bidwell, I believe, of the Cardinals saying they didn't pick Murray at number one not to play. So, talking out of both sides of your mouth, the owner and the head coach saying kind of different things. I don't know what's going on in Arizona. That organization is headed the way of the old Cleveland Browns, I think. There's a lot of people that think Kyler Murray's not going to be a very good quarterback. I'm going to go in between. I don't think he's going to be as great as other people think he is, and I don't think he's going to be a complete bust, but I definitely don't think he was worth that number one pick. Before Cliff Kingsbury really came out and said pretty much how much in love he was, he got a third-round grade from most of the scouts. So I don't think that's by accident. When you think of his height and mechanics and all those things those scouts take into to effect. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. When you are the number one overall pick, let's be real. That's some extreme pressure you're going to be under to be worthy of it. So we'll see whether he cracks or whether he flourishes. The other crazy pick, Dave Gettleman of the Giants at number 6, taking Daniel Jones. A head scratcher. I'm not a Giants fan, but I nearly fell off my couch watching that. This is a guy, I don't care what he says in the press. This is a guy where if he really loved him, he could have took him at 17 rather than 6. He didn't. He claims there were other teams trying to get up to get him too. I don't buy that. I think Haskins was always on the Redskins' radar. They even almost said as much. So Gettleman can try to convince the public that it was, if they didn't pick Daniel Jones at 6, they weren't getting him. Even if that was the case, I don't believe Daniel Jones is worth the 6th pick in the draft. How this plays out will be interesting with Eli not mentioning anything about retiring. Is he going to feel the pressure of this young gun? Which I don't think so, because frankly, I'm not a believer like Dave Gettleman is in Daniel Jones. So, going to be some interesting backstories in the NFL in 2019. And, I'm a huge NFL guy, so it's always going to be fun to watch for me. Let's talk about some of the playoffs. Just get you caught up in case you're not following it. We'll talk about some of the hockey. At the time of this podcast, Bruins and Blue Jackets, our series is tied up 2 games apiece. The Carolina Hurricanes looking to make quick work of the New York Islanders, and they're up 3-0 in that series. So the Islanders on life support. The Dallas Stars and St. Louis Blues tied up at 2 apiece as well. On the basketball front, you got the Sixers with a 2-1 series lead over Toronto. Portland and Denver tied up with a game apiece, as are the Bucks and the Boston Celtics. And in a matchup that proves that maybe there should be reseeding when you get to the basketball playoffs, you got Golden State in Houston with Golden State looking like they're going to win another title as they're ahead of Houston 2-0. A lot of people saying, they should reseed these playoffs. That way a Golden State-Houston matchup could take place more in the Western Conference Finals. I tend to agree, but it is what it is. If you want to win a championship, you're going to have to beat the team that's on your plate. So you can cry that we shouldn't be playing them this soon in the playoffs, but you got to win that championship, to hold up that trophy, you got to beat whoever's in front of you. So, we'll see how those play out. On the hockey side of things, a lot of the favorites are done early. Me and Andy Pratt broke down some of the playoffs before they really started. Our pick to win the whole things, both of us picked Tampa Bay. They not only lost in the first round, they were swept in a stunner. A lot of those higher seeds are no longer alive. So that's always fun. Stanley Cup hockey playoff is always fun anyway. A lot of overtime games this year as well. But now with some of the higher seeds being eliminated, it's really open to anyone to win this thing, and I think that's what makes it fun. It's one of the reasons we like the NCAA basketball tournament more than ever, is because it's almost any team can win it now, and now we're really like that with the hockey playoffs. So I always tend to watch some of the games. I like it more when the Rangers are still alive. They're trending upward with some of the trades they made, and they have the number 2 pick. But as far as the playoffs goes, this really is anyone's Stanley Cup to win, and should be fun to watch the rest of the way. Well, that wraps up another edition of the Sports Card Nation podcast. Episode number 24 is in the books. Special shout out and thanks to Blake Bollinger of Deep Fried Breaks. Definitely check them guys out there. Doing some really good breaks, doing it right. Honest, trustworthy guys. I mean, you hear him say he had a power outage and he pulled a Luis Urias Superfractor auto, and he could easily been shady and never said nothing and stole it basically, but that's not the type of business he runs. So he's one of the good guys. I definitely urge you to check him out. We're definitely going to have Blake back on to talk about hobby. Sometimes the misconception with breakers is they don't know the hobby, they're just breaking wax, and I think that's a misperception, and I think Blake exemplifies that. He knows what's going on. He's got his finger on the pulse. He cares. He's a collector as well, so he's on both sides of that aisle, which I think is a lot of times important. And sometimes when you're not, your perception is skewed. So we'll have him back on. Check them out. Check out our revamped website. Peruse around there. Don't forget to get in the Kris Bryant contest. There's 2 ways to go. The old-fashioned way we've done any of the previous contests, or enter through our revamped website, and you get an extra entry. So that'll wrap it up here for the show. Episode 25 coming at you in 7 days, next Friday. So we'll see you then. It's not too far away. And as my good friend Billy Joel would say, don't take any crap from anyone. Good night.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.